we welcome Kyle Koehler to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What is your favorite superpower?
Would have to go with self-sustaining, so self-sustainability. So not needing to like eat, sleep, or anything to be self-sustainable. I think that'd be a really cool power to have. You spend like a third of your life, if you're doing it right, sleeping. So to be able to kind of get all that time back, you think you'd be able to accomplish a lot more. And I don't know, I think it'd be kind of cool to have and still be able to live a normal life. And yeah, I don't know.
I like that answer. Kind of like a human version of a perpetual motion machine or something.
Yeah, just to be able to kind of go, not have to eat, sleep, or anything. You just never get tired, never get hungry. I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
Now, would that extend to like regenerating? Like in the comic books, there's always somebody who like you chop their arm off or whatever, and it just grows back.
Huh. It's an interesting question. I don't know. Haven't dug that deep into it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of superpowers are like alienating, right? And so I feel like this wouldn't be super alienating, and I don't know. Might not be something that a government would want to weaponize per se. I don't know.
That's a good point.
So you're pretty safe there. So
coming soon to the Maze MasterCast. What is your favorite non-weaponizable superpower?
Yeah, I feel like that's something you always have to worry about having a superpower. It's like which government's going to kidnap me and want to weaponize my abilities.
That is true. That is true. Where did you grow up and what did your parents do?
I grew up in LaGrange, Texas. So small town halfway between here and Austin or so. My mom was a middle school English teacher and my dad worked at a power plant there outside of town.
Okay. What was your greatest challenge as a child?
I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be involved in everything. I wanted to play all kinds of sports. I wanted to be involved in everything in school. It gets to a point where it's not feasible to do everything, right? You have to kind of pick and choose. And so I think that kind of dichotomy between wanting to do everything and be good at everything, but knowing that if you do everything, you're only going to be okay at everything, and having to kind of narrow that down as you kind of grow and get into high school, and kind of having to narrow down a lot of those hobbies, I think was a challenge because I wanted to be involved in so many different things.
Have you found wanting to do all of these activities? Do you ever have trouble slowing down in your adult life?
Yeah, some. I've had trouble slowing down a lot. I don't really sit still well and don't relax well. So it's something I've been definitely working on a lot lately because it can catch up to you, especially as you age and as you grow, just the stress and of doing everything and just being on the go constantly. So definitely something that I've tried to pick and choose my battles and say no to more things and slow down a little bit more.
What's your method for deciding what you're going to say no to? Is it feel, or is there more like are there more intellectual criteria to it?
Yeah, some of it's feel, and some of it's just as simple as, is this something that's going to make me happy? Is this something that's going to be something that I want to do? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I doing it for someone else's reasons? Am I doing it for my own reasons? And I feel like more times than not, you can kind of think, okay, well, maybe I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. Maybe I'm doing this because it makes someone else happier, because I think it's what someone else wants me to do, and not necessarily something that's going to make me happy or something that I want to do.
I like that. Give us 60 seconds on your road through Texas A&M and after.
Yeah, for sure. I was involved in quite a bit here at A&M. I grew up in Aggie my entire life. Both my parents went here, so it was a big. Really loved fish camp when I got to A&M. Really loved that orientation program, so I got involved in a lot of student activities here at the university. Went through the PPA program here at A&M. Had a pretty traditional job path after that. Started working for Ernst & Young in accounting after school, first in Austin and then up in New York City. And before and lived in New York City and worked for them for a couple of years before moving back down to San Antonio.
Okay. Wildway. It all starts with what you put in your body. Tell us why this is at the core of your beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, everything comes back to how you feel and what you can do, right? And I feel like that the things that you put in your body are people discount that, and I think that again, your ability to really just live a great life all has to do with how you feel. We're given this great body, we're given this temple, we want to take care of it, and that all has to do with, all goes back to putting in nutritious, good food in your body. It gives you more energy. It really just helps you perform better in anything that you do. And so I think everything really comes back to that one thing, and it has to do with what you put in your body. You're
also a believer that we can make food not only as it should be, but also as it could be. What does this mean to you?
Yeah, I think there's been a real trend lately, especially from a lot of big food companies, that there's this been trend of how can we make food basically cheaper and quicker and better and more addictive, right? And so it's in my opinion, it's taking food in the wrong direction, right? It's not really taking food how food could be, which is natural, sustaining, and nourishing for our bodies. It's really taking food in a different direction. How can we make it cheaper? How can we make it more factory created? How can we get people addicted to it to sell more of it to make more money?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that the line of sight has really been missed on, well, how can we make food not only better for you, but better for the planet? And that's where I think food could go and should go, where it's kind of gone the opposite direction, I feel like, the past decade. And so that's kind of on a part of what we're trying to do, and part of the mission that we're trying to have is taking food and not only making it to where it's nutritious and sustainable, but it's better for you, it's better for the planet. It's really, in our opinion, what food could be rather than what food has kind of been created to be over the past decade.
Let's talk a little bit more about the addiction element of it.
Yeah.
There are probably a lot of pieces to that, but what do you think are the most important parts to understand about how food is becoming addictive?
Yeah, I think that it's most people would find it very interesting how many resources companies put behind the addictive qualities of food, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be sugar, salt, fat. Hey, we need to make this crunchy. We need to make this a certain level of spicy to where people want to just constantly eat more and more and more of it, right? I think there's a lot of research that goes behind selling more of a food product, and not necessarily all of it is positive.
Yeah. By the way, for our listeners, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have time. Tell us about getting the business started.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty wild ride, to be honest, pun intended there. But so Texas has a cottage law, right? And the cottage law states is that if you sell food in person, so farmers markets, events, fairs, things of that nature, that you can make it in your home and sell it. So we started at farmers markets in San Antonio, started making the products in our home, which is a fun experience in itself.
Yeah.
As we grew, we moved to a commercial kitchen space in San Antonio that you could rent by the hour. But the only problem with the commercial kitchen space was that you couldn't receive deliveries there. So you couldn't get products delivered there. So when we first kind of started getting into stores and started getting into Whole Foods and started having to produce larger quantities, we still had to get all the raw materials shipped to our house. And this is in suburb San Antonio. So I remember a 55, 60 foot semi truck rolling through our suburb of San Antonio, stopping at our house to unload 50-pound bags of sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, all these different things. I mean, I can't imagine what our neighbors probably thought at the time. And of course, our ingredients are sourced all over the place. So it had, the sunflower seeds come from Bulgaria. We were getting dried fruit from Pakistan. Pumpkin seeds from China. So it's coming from all over the place. So I can't imagine our neighbors must have thought we were drug dealers. I'm sure unloading giant inconspicuous bags of nuts and seeds and God knows what, storing them in our house, in our garage. So it was a fun couple years starting out, working in our house and then out of a commercial kitchen space. We'd have to go late at night. It was the only time that we were available to rent it. So we'd go from like 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. and make product there. I remember the people that rented the kitchen space before us made bread and like pastries and things. And so I remember going into the kitchen and there just being flour all over the place, and eggs and all kinds of things. And we're like, oh my gosh, this product's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, there's no like egg product, we don't have any of these allergens. And here there's flour all over this commercial kitchen space that we're using. And so we'd have to spend the first hour cleaning up after the people before us to go in and make our product. And it was just kind of a mess, but we grinded it out and, just got through it. Eventually got our own small manufacturing plant, started with one employee, one piece of machinery, and really just kind of went from there.
What, aside from the addiction piece we discussed earlier, what's a fact that has surprised you about food? Something maybe most people wouldn't know?
Gosh, I don't know necessarily about food in general, but just I think one thing that I didn't really understand coming into this industry about a lot of people is that they don't understand the connection between ingredients, nutrition facts, and like the claims that food that get made on packaged food. And it surprised me the things that people would put in their body, not really fully understanding what it was composed of. And I guess one example would be at really early on, our first iteration of packaging. I didn't want to become certified gluten-free or put gluten-free anywhere in our packaging because to me it was obvious. We were like, okay, we're going to call this grain-free granola. It's obvious to me it doesn't have any grain, so therefore it's not possible for it to have any gluten in it. Why would we go get it certified gluten-free? And we'd go sample it in stores and run into people that would say, "Oh, I can't have that. I only eat gluten-free." And I would turn my head and be like, "Oh, okay. So you eat gluten-free, but you don't understand what gluten is or where it comes from or a variety of other things." And Same goes for non-GMO and organic. So it kind of surprised me that these certain claims that packages make and food products make and different ingredients and how that relates to nutrition facts and those claims were something that a lot of people didn't quite understand. They just kind of took it with a grain of salt and said, "Oh, I'm going to eat this is healthier because it claims this, or this doesn't contain this, so I can eat it."
Okay.
Because I was always just a food nerd and would always go and look at ingredients and really study the packaging and it's a surprise to me how many people just kind of trust the marketing that a company puts out as truth.
What do you feel like is the food or drink that people are not properly terrified of?
Probably just soda in general, to diet soda in particular, right? Okay. It has this halo of like 0 sugar, 0, right? 0 sugar, 0 fat, 0, all of these other things. But all the artificial sweeteners are just as terrible for your body, and including all the additives and things that are added to it. So I think that's something that, especially diet soda, just because of the health halo that a lot of people give it, I feel like it's something that a lot of people think is very, very healthy for them. That's really just horrible.
Makes sense. From a business perspective, I'm sure that this wasn't always easy. What were some of the, aside from your neighbors thinking you were drug dealers, what were some of the early business challenges that you dealt with?
Yeah, for sure. So we never went and raised any money early on, just input from friends and family, and then the savings that we had ourselves. And so we've always been very bootstrapped and very cash strapped very early on in the business. And that's always been a very, very big challenge, especially for a company like us that does all of its own self-manufacturing. We've got to pay for equipment and raw materials and all those things ourselves. So for a very inventory and cash intensive business, not having a lot of cash tends to cause a lot of problems. So I think cash flow issues have been a lot of the biggest challenges growing the business for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a time really early on where I had literally ran to the bank and pulled out the last few $1,000s. I mean, literally the last few $1,000s from a personal checking account in cash and ran across the street to where a business bank was, and deposited that in our business bank account.
Yeah.
So that we could pay our employees that week. And it was an incredibly humbling experience to do that. An incredibly scary experience to do that.
Yeah.
Literally pulling the last few dimes out of your bank account and just said, I hope this works. Cross your fingers. This has to work. I hope my vendors pay me on time next week, because if they don't, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I won't have any money. The business won't have any money. And so it's times like that really make you step back and go, why am I doing this again? It kind of makes you think a little bit, and it's incredibly humbling as well. And so those have been some of the biggest challenges, I think, growing the business has been the cash, definitely cash for sure.
Definitely that resonates here. That's all I'll say. I am glad you've made it through those times. Happy that your success has continued to elevate. You've talked a lot about figuring out what success looks like. What can you say about that?
Yeah, so this is something that I bring up a lot when I talk to other people that are starting their own business and other entrepreneurs, and I really encourage them to define what success looks like for themselves. And that's something that I know I struggled with quite a bit growing the business as well. Is you can get really caught up in what other people define as success.
Yeah.
And get really caught up in chasing that, and not really realizing what it is that truly is successful to you, right? So the media likes to portray success as a basketball player that signs a $100 million contract, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody that sells their business for $10 million, or somebody that gets some sort of celebrity, right? So the media likes to portray success in a certain way, and I feel like a lot of people can get caught up in pursuing success and what success means like for someone else or to someone else, rather than really sitting back, taking a deep dive and going, well, what does success mean to me? Maybe that just means that I get up every day and I'm happy. Maybe that means that I get to work for myself. Maybe that means that I get to work for 5 hours every day and take a midday break and then come back and work some more. Or maybe it means I get to make my own hours. It means something different to everybody. And so I just encourage people to really define what success looks like for them and pursue that, because it's different for every person. And I feel like if someone gets caught up spending their entire life or a portion of their life pursuing success in the eyes of somebody else, they might achieve it, but they're not going to be happy.
After your walk so far, what does success look like for you?
To me, it's really just getting up and enjoying what I'm doing, right? It has nothing to do with any sort of fame, notoriety, recognition, any sort of money. It really just, can I get out of bed every morning and be happy and content with where I'm at and what I'm doing? And am I making a difference in the world? And that's what success means to me and how I define it for myself.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What has been your happiest moment with Wildway?
Gosh, I don't know if I can pinpoint one particularly moment in time that's happy. I mean, I feel like with any small business, you have those moments where like, we made it, and then sometimes that same day you have a moment where you're like, well, we're not gonna make it, and so those like those like I've made it moments, like those can be really fleeting. So I've learned to kind of take all those with a grain of salt. But I think that the times that have made me the happiness are just the times that maybe I get an accolade from a customer or a review from a customer saying, hey, your product has changed my life. Thank you for doing what you do. Or hear one of our employees say, hey, this is the best place I've ever worked, and you're the best boss I've ever worked for. I don't want to work for anybody else. Those things to me, those really are the things that define success for me. And those are the things that make me happy, right? Is to know that I have provided someone else a job and an opportunity that they love, right? And then I've provided a product that someone else loves, that really makes them happy and that changes their life. To me, those are the happiest moments. And so there's not one thing I can pinpoint, but it's those things that come and go that really make me enjoy what I do and give me kind of the why I do what I do.
That's great. Tell us about this adventure van you built.
Yeah. So this is a Ram ProMaster van that I gutted and built out to be kind of a mini camper van of sorts. So love traveling, love the outdoors, and I wanted something that would allow me to travel, would allow me to enjoy the outdoors, but something that we could also use for the business. There's quite a bit of travel, or I guess there was anyway. It's coming back with the business. And so I wanted something that we could use for the business, but also that I could use to go travel and camp and do adventures of that sort. And it was just kind of a little pet project for myself as well. I'm a lifelong learner, so I wanted something that I could had zero experience doing and building out. So it's solar powered. It's got lighting, plumbing. It's got a bed. It's basically like a mini sustainable kind of RV situation that's in a van. And we wrapped it to look really cool for the business and something that we take for travels and something that I take camping and hiking and that kind of thing.
What's the craziest thing that's happened driving this van around the country?
Craziest thing. So I took it last summer. I took it to the Rocky Mountains. I did like a 5-day backpacking trip through the Rocky Mountains. And on like the third day of the hike, I was sitting at a creek, and just out of nowhere, I heard this noise, and these two like giant bull elk like came out of nowhere from like behind some trees. I mean, these things must have been like 800 pounds each. They were massive. They were huge. And I like freaked out, and I'm like, I mean, this thing could toss me into a tree.
Yeah. Elks are nothing.
It's huge.
Nothing to mess with.
Had a massive like rack of antlers. I mean, they're both really big. And so I kind of like freaked out and got scared and just like kind of stood there, and I didn't do anything. And they kept getting closer and closer. They were like eating and like lounging around this like creek. And I didn't want to move because I was like, I had just hiked like 15 miles that day. And I was like, I'm not outrunning these things. If I get up and run and one of them comes after me, that's it. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just going to stay here. Maybe they just won't think I'm a threat. They ended up getting within, I would say, like 4 or 5 feet of where I was sitting. Just, again, these massive animals, and just kind of kept to themselves. And it was like part fascinating, part incredibly scary, part just like, this is kind of cool, but it's also really scary because I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But they just kept to themselves and they walked away, and it was I don't know, it was cool. It was a cool experience, but also kind of scary at the same time.
Did they interact with you at all? Like, did they sniff you? Or
they did not. No, they did not. Didn't interact with me at all. Just kind of kept to themselves, which is fine. But I was out in the middle of nowhere, so I was like, if I get hurt, I mean, there was no cell service. I didn't have anything. Like I was like, there's no like, if I get really hurt, there's like I don't know what's going to happen. So it was a little nerve wracking, but
no doubt. How far were you from the vehicle?
I mean, it would have taken me probably a good full day and a half of like straight hiking to get back to where I had parked.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, I was out there.
I don't know if I've ever said this more sincerely. I'm glad that all worked out for you.
Yeah, me too.
What's next for you for Wildway?
What's next? I really am excited about developing more of a social mission for the company. I mean, that's something that I've really want to do for a while. And I think so far over the course of our business, a lot of it's just been about survival, right? Yeah. It's just surviving, getting to the next step, getting to the next plateau, and just really working on becoming a profitable business and working on creating something that is sustainable and that's survivable. Yeah. And so I think we've kind of, we're not completely out of those shadows yet, but I think we've gone over a big enough of a hump to where I really want to take a step back and go, okay, how can we give back more? How can we take this business and turn in and really amplify the social mission of the business? So I'm really excited to kind of go down that path and dig a little deeper into how can we give back more? What more can we do for society? And what does that look like for us? And so I'm really excited to kind of take that next step for the business and focus a lot more of the business on that and on the social mission, now that we're kind of at a more sustainable place.
Okay.
So
that's great. Rapid fire. What do you consider your most valuable failure?
So early on in the business, we tried to go out and raise money. We weren't successful in doing that. And I think that at the time, it seemed like a really big failure for us at the time. But looking back, I think it was probably the best thing that happened for our business. It really taught us to value the money that we had and respect it and grow sustainably, grow very slowly, and grow in the right ways and use our money for the right things. And so definitely something that I would look back and say was a really smart move that didn't happen for us at the time and really helped us grow in all the right ways, I would say.
That we may end up cutting this. What was the timeline for all of this? How long ago did you start Wildway?
We started 8 or 9 years ago is when we initially filed in 2012. We did farmers markets for a little while. So we kind of say end of 2012, kind of into 2013 is when we started.
At what point did you realize, okay, this business is probably going to make it? At what point did you feel, and I know, I mean, success has looked like this, as you said, but at what point did you say, okay, barring some kind of crazy thing happening, this business is going to survive?
Probably, to be honest, probably late 2018, early 2019.
So it took, like, it's 2/3 of your growth cycle has been just ensuring survivability.
Yeah, it took a while. Yeah.
What would you say to other entrepreneurs, aside from, you mentioned protecting your money, making sure that you're spending it on the right things, that you're growing the company in a sustainable way? Were there any nuances of that you feel like would be particularly useful for entrepreneurs getting started, whether they're 20 years old or 50 years old?
I would just say be patient, right? I feel like there's this rush to like, man, I got to raise all this money, grow this business really fast and sell it. And then, it's going to be great and exit and then do it again. And just be patient, right? Be patient. Everything happens for a reason. Everything, and so I think there can be this big rush for people that like, I have to go out and do this. I have to do it fast. I have to do this quick or somebody's going to copy me or somebody's going to do it better. But, and what I have to say to that is just be patient, right? Be patient. Don't rush into things. Don't do things haphazardly. Really take your time.
Tell us about a time where patience was a particularly difficult lesson for you.
Yeah, so this was early on in our business, and this is when we were going out and trying to raise a bunch of money. At the time, we sold in a very limited amount of stores. So we were in H-E-B and Whole Foods in the Texas region, and then we had one other retailer in the country that we sold to. And so we were all hyped up to go and raise money. We said, hey, we really need to have a really big growth story to go out and tell people in order to help us raise money.
Yeah.
So we're going to go apply to sell our products in every single Whole Foods region around the country. Maybe one of them will take us, maybe two, but we need to get some more stores so we can have a good growth story. So we just kind of on a whim, just kind of went out and said, hey, we applied for our products to be sold in every region of Whole Foods. And then thinking that just one or two would maybe come back. And I think 5 regions came back and said, hey, we're going to take your products. We're going to take this and this product here and this product here and this product here and this product here. And we had products scattered all over the country in all hundreds of these stores. And then when we failed to raise money, not only did we have products scattered all over the country, but we didn't have the money or the funds to really support it like we could.
Oh, man.
To be able to do couponing on the shelf and support it with promotions in the stores.
Yeah.
And so now about half of those, I would say about half or more of those stores have discontinued our products because we couldn't support it when we grew into those stores. So that's a time period that I would say, wow, we should have been a lot more patient with everything, with raising money and with growing, and really grown a lot slower and really figured out what it took to really be successful here in the stores that we were in first, before we kind of went out and said, okay, now we want to get our products in California, in New York, in Oregon. And that was a big mistake for us that if I had to go back, I'd be a little more patient with.
Makes sense. What is something you were really interested in that people might be surprised by?
I've really gotten a lot into Stoic philosophy lately, actually, and like Stoicism. So I really kind of like the things that it teaches and kind of the mindset that it gives you. And it's something that I've really like read a lot into and done a lot of research on lately.
What do you think, like, what do you feel is your biggest takeaway from the Stoic philosophy so far?
I think one of the biggest things is just really being content with where you're at and being content with the outcome of your life. So whether the things that happen to you, whether good or bad, being happy with those things and knowing that those things all happen for a reason and there's a reason for that, and being content with that. So just knowing that, like, whatever direction your life takes, knowing that it's all for good, right? It's all supposed to happen. This is all how it's meant to be, and being content with that and happy with that, and not constantly having this mindset of more, excess, just being content.
What habit have you developed recently that you would say has greatly contributed to your continuing success?
I would say mindfulness and meditation.
Okay.
Not something that's always been a part of my life, but something that I've definitely done, made a conscious effort to do a lot more recently and make a habit of. That I think it has had a really big impact on my life and my day to day. That's something I would recommend for sure.
We end each session with good bull. Anyone you want to send good bull?
I think just all of our employees back at the plant that are holding the fort down. They do so much for us in our business, and incredibly grateful for everybody that we have working for us now, and yeah.
Fantastic. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. Good bull to you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support. Drop us a like below and feel free to leave a comment if you wish. We appreciate positivity and constructive feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes and bonus content. You can also take us on the road using your favorite podcast listening app. We have those linked below. If you'd like to know more about Mays Business School or our guests, visit mays.tamu.edu/podcasts. Talk with you soon.